Hi, Profit fam. So great to have you all here today. I'm so super excited because I'm going to be doing something kind of special today for you all. And I'm doing a live interview with one of my oldest friends, Brian Greene Jr. He is a COVID-19 survivor, and he just recently wrote and published his new book, or his first book. And I'm saying first, it is called Smell the Roses, Blow Out the Candles, My COVID-19 Story. So I am so super excited that he's going to be joining us, and he's going to kind of tap in here in just a second. Y'all, we had to practice this to make sure we knew how to do this. So hopefully Facebook is going to be kind to us as we try to get this interview going. And as we're waiting for Brian to kind of press that little button, there he goes. I want all of you to just, who are the video live, definitely, if you have questions for Brian, you can definitely type those in. If you are watching the replay, then I definitely want you to still type in questions, because I'm sure he'll kind of come back and answer those as well. Hey, Brian.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I'm going to officially wave to you on the thing. I don't know if it came through.
Yeah, it did. That was pretty cool.
So I have to say this as a disclaimer. So Brian and I go way back to our Winthrop days. So go Eagles. And
Yeah.
hey, Shelby. Shelby is his wife. Oh, I love her. And we call each other dude. So I'm gonna try to be professional and not say dude and say Brian, but I have to tell you, it's kind of weird. So
You should just say dude.
it's
It's
gonna be
okay.
dude. Okay, I'm not gonna put on any airs.
I think it's weird I call you dude, but
Right?
it's okay.
But it just works. It works.
Yeah, it's always been that
Yeah.
way.
Don't change anything up now.
Right?
Hi, Jaquay. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. So again, as people come on, just if you have questions for dude, if you have questions for Brian, please feel free to type those into the comments. And if you're watching live, we'll try to get to those. And if it's a replay, we'll make sure and kind of type those responses in. So, dude, let's just jump into it. Okay. I've got
Sure. Yeah.
my tea. I'm ready. All
Okay.
right. I'm
All right.
ready. I feel like I'm getting ready
I
for
got my
like,
little buddy with me.
yes, yes. Hi, Corey. Thanks for joining us. All right, dude. Just start out by telling us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about
Okay.
your life pre-COVID and
Yeah.
kind of what
Yeah.
what your routines were and how you were living your life.
Sure. So, like you said, we went to Winthrop University, and I got a healthcare management degree, as a business major, and currently work in commercial real estate.
Hmm.
We manage Atrium Health properties, so I'm still kind of in healthcare. Um, Basically, I work from home, so that kind of helped out a little bit. Do go in the office. I'd say I was probably going in 3, 4 days a week or so.
Okay.
Now it's permanently for a while because of everything that's going on. So it's helping a lot of us, and it's also hindering a lot of us.
Mm.
Not work wise, but just emotionally, because we're all pretty close. It's a family type atmosphere, and we kind of just miss all our lunch buddies and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's going pretty well. I actually went in this week for 2 days because a lot of my coworkers wanted to see me, and just kind of pick their spirits up a little bit. And also, a couple wanted to purchase the book, and
Hmm.
I had to print some things too, so it worked out.
That's awesome. That's so
Yeah.
good. And what
So
about like, so you said that you were working, were there any other precautions that you were taking other than that?
yeah. So as far as COVID went, we froze our gym membership. Then
Hmm.
of course they closed.
Hmm.
So we quit going to the gym, and it was more like outside walking, long walks at night.
Yeah.
We kind of got into basketball. That was an old love I'd forgotten about. So my wife and I would play some one-on-one games, and
Hmm.
just do old basketball drills to make it fun. And
Who won most of the games? I just need to know.
she's got a great shot. Like, I never knew because I've never played before, but I was like, okay,
Get it,
all right.
Showbell.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So like, the way we play is you shoot till you miss, and then the other person gets a turn. And I took a nap. I got on Facebook. I went grocery shopping. I came back. She's still making shots. Now we had a good
That's
time. It was awesome.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I
So,
like,
but as far as like grocery shopping,
yeah.
we would actually do the thing. You wash your groceries outside. You didn't bring them in the house. she worked at a PT clinic. Well, she still does, but she would come in immediately, put her clothes in the washer and take a shower. We'd leave our shoes right by the front door, Lysol them. I mean, we were
Mhm.
very, very careful.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people kind of think, well, that's crazy, but going through what I went through, I promise you it's not crazy because nobody wants to go through what I went through
Yeah.
and what other people are going through, and they have it worse, you know?
Yeah.
So I was really blessed to
Yeah.
be where I am today and still be talking to you. So,
Absolutely. I'm so glad. I'm so
yeah,
thankful.
yeah,
What about, that's a great segue kind of into the days where you started to feel ill and, were
yeah.
ultimately diagnosed. Kind of take us through that process. Like what prompted you to go get tested? Was there any specific thing that happened that you can point back to?
Yeah, so it was kind of strange. You know, I get sinus infections frequently.
Hmm.
And I thought it was just a sinus infection, some congestion, and um, actually got up and ran a 2 mile run, and I haven't done that in a while. But I was trying to get back into fitness. I'm like, if I catch this thing, I want to be healthy.
Right.
And it's just ironic. It hit me like 2, 3 days later,
Hmm.
but it just felt like a sinus infection at first. And then the book kind of details day one of those symptoms all the way through to when I get out of the hospital.
Hmm.
And then, of course, the website covers everything after.
Yeah.
But, I went through all the symptoms of COVID. I couldn't smell the day after that. Things kind of smell like ammonia.
Hmm.
And then it trickled into I couldn't taste, and then I got nauseous, and then all the other symptoms.
Yeah.
Fever got started about 99, and
Okay.
then 2 days of that, and then it got up to 102, 103 the very next day. So it,
Wow.
it climbed fast.
Hmm.
Um, but what made me go to the hospital was, of course, my wife was concerned.
Right.
I typically don't like going to hospitals. My theory was the more you're on COVID, the more deadly it may be for you.
Hmm.
But that's just not how it works. If you got it, you got it.
Yeah.
It's not going to build.
Okay.
And then also, I kind of don't look at doctors and hospitals. I look at them differently now, but I always looked at them like that's where you go to get your bag diagnosis and
Yeah.
finding out that you're sick with this, you're sick with that, you're
Yeah.
dying. I didn't want to hear all that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, I did stay one night at home stubbornly. My oxygen levels were at 88%.
Hmm.
I told my wife if they were any worse or the same, I'd go the next morning.
Hmm.
And they were 83 when I woke up. So I woke her
Wow.
up and off I went to the hospital.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
What about emotionally? I mean, you kind of took us through physically and the book details out, that in great detail, but what about emotionally?
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that I think a lot of people don't factor in until it happens. So what about
Yeah.
emotionally? What were you feeling? What'd you go through?
So prior to getting sick, it was a very scary feeling. And I'm sure a lot of people may do this, but I saw myself kind of pushing the people close to me away because
Mm,
I didn't know it was going to happen. I
yeah.
didn't know if they'd get sick and die. I didn't know if my wife would get sick and die.
Yeah.
But I was very careful. We were careful with each other to try to not get each other sick because her working out in the public, and
Right.
then I'd go grocery shopping or do random things, go to Lowe's, put a deck on the house. So
Hmm.
just things like that. But prior to COVID, just kind of scared but hiding it.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of anxiety,
Yeah.
because of course it leads to anxiety. We try to stay busy though. We try to do a lot of physical work. We try to be outside more. A lot of things change. I picked up old
Hmm.
hobbies like photography,
Yeah.
um, uh, just things like that. And while I had it, um, and I didn't put in the book because I didn't want it to be a dark book. I
Yeah.
wanted it to be uplifting, scary at the same time.
Yeah.
But there was a point when I had to accept the fact that I may die.
Mm,
It got that bad, right in the middle of it
yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And, I spoke with God and had my emotional 1 hour crying moment and all that, and
Yeah.
realized I've lived a great life. I've
Yeah.
done a lot. I've made a lot of great friends, have a great family,
Mm,
and hopefully people have good memories of me.
yeah.
And immediately after that, I crushed it. I just
Hmm.
started beating COVID up. It felt great.
Yeah.
I think it was just the stress of knowing, that I may die. It was gone,
Yeah.
because everybody may die.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
have to accept it and live your best life.
Yeah.
Just do what you can now.
Exactly. What
Yeah.
about, I don't know if you're okay with it. Can we dig a little bit deeper into that time? Like you said, that, you had a conversation with God, you kind of got into that. I mean, you talked about kind of coming to terms with that. Like, was there anything that he said to you, or a song that you heard, or, a scripture that came
Yeah.
across, like any of that stuff, kind of what was that that kind of pulled you out of that place of saying, I might die, I'm in a dark place, and then
Yeah.
flip the script and say, I'm going to do what I can to beat this?
Yeah. So, I think the most spiritual moment I had was probably when my mother prayed for me. Going in the
Yeah.
hospital, I was so scared,
Yeah.
very scared. Just wanted to be there. And like I said before, I felt like the more you're around it, the more apt you are to possibly die or get on a ventilator. It's going to build on you.
Yeah.
And there's no one there to kind of answer your questions right away.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the staff has to take their precautions, which you totally understand. You don't want them catching anything, but they come in the room and they're out as soon as they can, because they have to. They
Right.
can't hang out and talk and, just see what you're thinking, all that. So you kind of got to save your questions up along with being sick and trying to remember things.
Yeah.
But really just my mom's prayer.
Mm.
And I put it in the book. She
Mhm.
prayed so hard for me,
Wow.
and she actually volunteers for the Billy Graham Rapid Response Team. So
Wow.
she's a power prayer, we
Yes.
call them. Yeah, well, I do. So I literally felt like Jesus hugged me in the hospital
Mm.
bed. It was amazing. It was so warm, immediately comforting. I'm not gonna lie, I did have a little bit of moments of doubt after that,
Yeah.
but I felt so much stronger after that prayer.
Yeah.
I knew that whatever happened was up to God,
Right.
and you just kind of accept that. You have to
Mhm.
release that and realize you don't have control of everything going on.
Yeah.
The things you can control, take charge
Yeah.
and do your best with it. But you have to realize what you can and can't control.
So what about your
Um,
faith now? Like, how is that kind of translated into your faith now moving forward?
so I've always been pretty like had a relationship with God my whole entire life. When I was younger, I actually got into like the 700 Club.
Yeah.
I think that show with Michael Landon, Highway to Heaven. It's like so I was always curious, and I'd watch those shows, and it's like as I grew older, I'd go to church more. My mom got me involved, and then we kind of I felt like a little too heavy into it. We were there every day almost.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday was like prayer group. Wednesday was youth group. Friday was getting together with other youth groups and churches.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday was a rally somewhere. Sunday morning Bible school. Sunday mass. Sunday night, well, not mass, but Sunday night church. I'm like, oh, this is a lot of church. I learned a lot. It kept me out of trouble,
Right.
but
Right.
a little too much for a teenager.
Yeah.
And so I've always had a good, solid relationship with God. I'd strayed away a little bit when my father passed. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand that.
Yeah.
And being young, you don't get it. It doesn't make sense, especially when you feel like you're doing the right things. You're going to church all the time. You're
Mm-hmm.
volunteering. You're giving back to the community. But God has a plan for everyone, and
Right.
whether you like it or not, it's going to happen.
Right.
Um, and right now, obviously after that prayer and just reconnecting with God, um, I feel so much better inside.
Yeah.
I'd been away and kind of just touch and go with God in my relationship,
Yeah.
and not always in moments of need, but I'd thank Him for great things and things like that. But it
Yeah.
wasn't anywhere near like church every Sunday or
Right. Right.
going twice a week.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're looking for a church. We'll probably be going once everything kind of clears out here. I'm hoping within the next 6 months,
Yeah. Yeah.
things will get a little better.
Well, most churches right now are doing virtual services, so y'all can get
Yeah,
hooked up and linked up, and
you're
it's a
right.
great time to
You're
kind of
right.
test it out. And I think the good thing,
Yeah,
side note, the good thing about that is,
yeah,
because it's live on Facebook or YouTube, you can kind of test out different churches in one day versus before you had to pick one place to go once. And so,
yeah,
it's a good time. It's a good
yeah.
time to
You're
start
right.
testing it out.
You're right. We
So,
did. We
yeah.
kind of made it fun. We were at our friend's house on Easter, and Franklin Graham gave his sermon, and
Hmm. Hmm.
we put it on a big projector and put it on my buddy's big wall. It was kind of a good Easter
Yeah.
service, and had breakfast, and it
That's
was pretty fun.
awesome.
It was a
That's
good time.
awesome. And
Yeah,
those are the
yeah,
kinds of things where, instead of dragging yourself to a service, thinking, okay, this is going to take forever. When is it going to be done so I can get out and watch the
yeah,
game?
yeah,
I think those are some of the hidden blessings in this COVID season, in this kind of quarantine place, because we have time to enjoy those moments versus
yeah.
So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. You're
So
you're kind of
yeah,
reminding me of a stand-up comedian. There's a I forget his name, but he's got a little bit on getting ready for church, and
is
it's
this
like
thing on?
that moment before you're supposed to go to church. It's like I don't know. It's like everybody was freaking out and they're arguing and screaming at each other, and then they get to
Yes.
church and they're like, "Oh,
All right,
we're a
everything's
good
fine.
Christian
We're
family." It's
good.
like that stress is gone now.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Either forcefully or
Yeah.
yes. So
Right?
so after all of this, I mean, a lot of people have
Yeah.
gone through what you're going through or what you've been through,
Yeah.
and they just
Yeah.
kind of used it and now they're back onto their lives. But you turned this kind of pain into purpose and you have
Yeah.
written this book and you've written this story. Why? What prompted you to put this in writing?
So it kind of started as a journal. It just kind of grew legs and walked, and now it's running. We're
Hmm.
not at a full sprint yet, but we're gonna get there. Um, I just feel like God wants this message out there
Yeah.
to. But I started journaling, and I started journaling because I didn't know what was gonna happen. I didn't know if I was gonna die in a hospital. I didn't know if I'd be kind of put on anesthesia and sleeping and have a ventilator on me, and then no one knows what happened prior. So
Yeah.
just taking notes on my phone, taking a couple pictures here and there. Um, and I never really planned on using it. It was kind of weird and kind of morbid, but I've dealt with a lot of death in my family and in my life. And I was thinking, it'd be great if my wife could read this if I did pass. So she knew what I went through in there because
Yeah.
we would FaceTime, but it's not like she was there for every moment, good or
Right.
bad.
Right.
We'd have our conversations and kind of connect maybe 2, 3 times a day on FaceTime
Hmm.
because she also had it. She was diagnosed positive,
Hmm.
but she was quarantined at home.
Okay.
Which that's another thing people don't really think about. Your loved ones are in the hospital and you can't visit them.
Hmm. Yeah.
When I gave her a kiss goodbye at the emergency room, I didn't see her again for 9 days.
Wow.
So or 6 days. I apologize, 6 days. Um, but yeah, back to the book. The reason I turned it into a book. I felt like God wanted this message out there. When I was sick, a lot of family and friends were texting me and calling on me and Facebook messaging me and wanting to FaceTime and check on me. One, because they cared so much. Two, they were very curious. It's a new thing. And three, they're scared. And
Right.
unfortunately, what COVID did to me, because of the lack of oxygen, I think maybe I had a lot of cloudiness from also that and the medicine
Hmm.
and everything that was going on. I couldn't even get a good simple text message out. I try to send a 5-word sentence out and I'd misspell words and I'd
Mm.
skip words and then I have to go back and delete it and then misspell and skip again. And finally, I realized that stress of just trying to keep up with 30, 40
Yeah.
people, and that's only one text message per person. It was killing me. It was literally just sucking the energy out of me and prohibiting me from healing.
Yeah.
So I had to have my wife and my mother update everybody and my
Hmm.
mother-in-law. And I was like, you guys need to just tell everybody what's going on. I can't keep up.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you three and we'll leave it at that and I'll just
Yeah.
heal.
Yeah.
So about an hour after that, I started thinking, because I was on a COVID floor, the entire floor was COVID patients.
Hmm.
And I started thinking, there's probably patients in here that don't have anybody. They don't have family or friends. They have nobody texting or calling them.
Yeah.
Nobody cares whether they live or die,
Mm.
and they're totally alone. And not that they have to have a relationship with God. I'd love them to, but I would not force that on anyone. But if they don't have God, they're solely alone.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had my relationship with God, so I could speak to Him, and then also my wife and my mother and mother-in-law and certain family members. They're super close.
Hmm.
But that's why I wrote the book. It's for them, so they could read the book, know I beat COVID,
Yeah.
know some tips on how to stay off the ventilator that worked for me,
Hmm.
and know they're not alone.
Yeah.
And maybe they do find God with the book. I'm kind of making it sound like it's a super religious book. It's not. It's just a couple references here and there and some supernatural experiences I went through.
Hmm.
But if it does lead them to God, great. If it makes them feel like they're not alone, even better.
Yeah.
And hopefully it does save a life or two.
Yeah.
It's like I told everybody, well, what if you don't sell 1 million copies? And I was like, I don't care. If I sell one and it saves one life
Yeah.
and God wanted this message out there and we did it, then I'm done. I did what I
Yeah.
was supposed to do. And my mom, when we talked, she said, I'm sorry you had to go through all this. I'm sorry you got so sick. And I looked at her, or I talked to her, and I was like, honestly, it's probably the best thing that ever happened in my life.
Mm.
because I'm on track to being one of the healthiest Brian Greenes that's ever lived. So I'm feeling great. I'm feeling
That's
great.
awesome. And I
Yeah.
mean, Jesus chases the one. I mean, he does what we can't
Yeah.
do. And, one plants, another waters, and God gives the increase. And your book, even though you
Yeah.
say it's not, super religious, it may
Yeah.
be just enough, for somebody who doesn't even know who God is, maybe even never heard, the name Jesus, maybe, has heard it, but they've been hurt before and they're hearing or reading your words about his love
Yeah.
and, the fact that you felt him hug you. I mean, how is that even, for somebody who's detached, they can't even
Yeah.
comprehend that. So I think,
Yeah.
don't downplay, the impact of writing your
Yeah.
story and sharing that because
Exactly.
I mean, even for believers, it's encouragement
Hmm.
because we forget. We get into those
Yeah.
seasons where we just completely forget everything that God has done for us. And we're like, what are we doing? How are we going to make it?
Yeah.
And,
Exactly.
reading those things that kind of keep us grounded and keep us focused to keep us pushing forward, that's exactly what this world needs now. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you
You're
writing
right.
it.
You're
That's
right.
amazing.
Yeah.
So,
Can I say
yeah,
one more thing
please,
too?
yes.
Just one of the coincidences that happened during this process. It's funny you said about the watering and the growing, but I built the website because my graphic designer, who I found pretty last minute, um, and he was great, did a great job, Ryan. Um, so I built the website and it was titled Growing Greene.
Uh-huh.
Some people don't know it's www.growinggreene.com. There's an E in Green. But I was just about to publish the book after building the website, and a friend of a friend calls me out of the blue, and he's like, "Hey, I heard you're writing a book," and I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "My dad publishes books. He can print for you. Why don't you give him a call and see what's going on?" So I didn't press publish with Amazon. I called him up and we get chatting about his son, who's really funny. He reminds me of Jim Carrey. He's just high energy, really crazy, but he's a great guy. And so I'm talking about all that, and then we talk a little more about my story, and then I find out his dad likes to publish religious books. He's into that and looks for good religious authors and things like that. So I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this is kind of ironic. So we keep talking some more, and like I said, it's growinggreen.com. I asked him the name of his business, and it's Sow the Seed Ministries. So I was like, come on, this is just it's supposed to happen. So I didn't even think twice about it. I didn't shop around
Yes.
anymore.
Yes.
I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yes.
We're planting the seed, we're growing green, and
Exactly. It all
we'll
works.
see.
It
And
all works.
and then the hospital I stayed at, their motto and logo is the tree of life. So I'm just like, this is just supposed to happen.
And you know what? Jesus said
So
he's the vine. So I mean, it's
that's right,
all right in there, all right in there. And
right?
when you are, I mean, there are a lot of times where we doubt if what we're doing is really what God wants us to do, or if we should do it,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
was this just a good idea that I had myself, or is this really what God wants me to do? And when we're
exactly.
following what he wants us to do, he will open doors that no man can close.
Yeah,
And he will close
you're
those
right.
doors that no man can open. And as
Yep.
soon as you were obedient to his voice telling you to write this story down, go out on faith. I mean, you'd never published a book before. It was a new process.
Exactly. Yeah.
As soon
I
as you
was
did that,
horrible in English in high school too.
me
Horrible.
fail
I'm very
English.
lucky. That's the other coincidence. My best man and best friend since like seventh grade, John, he has his own fine furniture business now, and he kind of like took a break for a week and helped me out. We
Mhm.
wrote this book in probably 10 days. It takes 4 to 5 months to write a book.
Right, right.
And he copy edited the whole thing. He did an unbelievable job. I'm so happy. And then that process too brought us closer again, and it was like
Mhm.
old times. It was great. So
Oh my
it's
gosh,
kind of funny
so
that it
good.
worked out that
It
way.
is
Yeah,
so
I never would
good.
have guessed I'd be the one with a published book. You should have 10 or 15 out by now. So
That's amazing. And Crystal,
yeah,
Crystal said, "He is divine, God's divine intervention." Absolutely, absolutely. That's
yep,
exactly what all that was.
yeah,
So maybe for one of the final questions, tell us
sure.
about your life now. What are things that have changed about your life now than pre-COVID?
So I try to keep it positive. When I was in the hospital, I didn't know it, but I was diagnosed with diabetes.
Wow.
According to the test, I'd gotten it probably 4 months ago, 5 months ago, somewhere in that time frame. So I was up to six finger pricks a day in the hospital when I got home, and four insulin shots. So every meal
Wow.
and then one at night, and also high blood pressure. And I
Mm.
wasn't shocked about that one. That one I was kind of trying to avoid getting diagnosed with. I was like, I can control it on my own with diet and exercise, but I wasn't dieting and I wasn't exercising. So I wasn't controlling that much. So pre-COVID, and it's kind of embarrassing, being a former semi-pro athlete. I played semi-pro football and I've always been in great shape my whole life. So it's kind of embarrassing to go and get
Mm.
diagnosed with something like that and
Mm.
have to take medicine. And
Yeah.
I was like, I can be, and I told the doctor, I'll come back in a year and get another physical. And I was coming up on a two year stretch. So it was time
Yeah.
for a physical. But yeah, so I got diagnosed high blood pressure, diabetes type 2.
Mm.
It's on the web page. There's a tab called My Recovery
Mm-hmm.
because the book doesn't cover my recovery.
Mm-hmm.
It only covers when I get out of the hospital.
Yeah.
But I've actually kicked insulin. I've dropped 32 pounds. I got 30 more to go. Yeah. I didn't know much about the keto diet. I've heard about it. I've kind of researched. It's like no carbs and all that. And
Mm-hmm.
my uncle had told me I had knocked my buddy into ketosis. I was dropping a pound a day.
Wow.
So I know a lot of the COVID weight loss was from just being in the bed, a lot of muscle loss.
Mm-hmm.
They said it takes 3 days to recover for every day you're in the bed.
Mm.
I kind of treated the hospital, and it's in the book, like a workout. I was up, moving around a lot,
Yeah.
going to the bathroom, not using urinals or whatever they call those things. Making sure I was walking to the corner chair, sitting in the corner chair. I'd get up, I'd open the blinds, I'd walk around the room a little bit when I could.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I've kind of got into this diet thing that I've never really been good at. Luckily, my wife's on the same diet, the
Mm-hmm.
diabetic diet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of low carbs. And I'm hoping to drop 30 more.
Mm-hmm.
We're finally at a point where I can exercise now
Yeah.
safely.
That's
I
awesome.
couldn't really push it, but yeah, I got up to about 21,000 steps, I think a week and a half ago or a week
Wow.
ago. And then today's actually the day they say I'd feel somewhat normal. 2 days ago, I ran a mile in 11 minutes, 30 seconds.
Wow.
I was only going to do a half mile, but it was such a great time and my heart was feeling better. I'm like, I got to go a whole mile. So I did a whole mile, 11 minutes, 30 seconds. And keep in mind, in high school, I ran a 5:15 mile. So it's not great, but it's good for me now,
Yes.
knowing the
Yes.
lungs work, everything's functional. But that's probably my best time in almost 5 years.
Wow.
So I know I'm literally on track, no pun intended, to get where I want to be.
That's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
his word says that he will restore everything that the cankerworm stole. So
Yeah.
all of these, these places where you feel like you used to be, and then you feel like you've
Hmm.
gotten away from that, he's bringing that back. And it's not that he's bringing things back to where you used to be. He's bringing you
Yeah.
forward to where he wants you to be now. And it took something
Exactly.
like this, to get you to a
Yeah.
place where you can now be receptive to that, whereas before, like, you had
Yeah.
the knowledge, you're like, yes, I know I need to do this, but now it's like, for real, for real. And I'm taking
Yeah.
some people with me. And so that's
Exactly.
amazing. That is amazing.
People people always say God won't give you more than you can handle, and I
Hmm.
think yeah, I think we got, can you see through there?
I
I
can
think we
see
got
it.
like that close. I was that close to more than I can handle, I'll tell you that.
The cup is
But
about
yeah,
to
it's
run
true.
over.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So
But he
what advice do you have for people, or what do you just want people to walk away with, kind of hearing this talk, reading your book, looking at the website? What is just the central, piece that you want people to walk away with?
I'd love for obviously everyone to read my book. If I could give it away for free, I would. I can't though, unfortunately. But the message in the book is just to live your best life.
Mm.
We only get one,
Yeah.
and you don't need to be put in a traumatic situation to realize that.
Yeah.
Like you can realize it just driving home from work,
Yeah.
or brushing your teeth in the morning. Like live your best life.
Yeah.
Live the life you want to live.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously don't go out and commit a bunch of crimes, things like that. But just try to live the life you were built for.
Yeah.
If you want to do art, you're not the greatest artist. Who cares? Just do it.
Yeah.
It brings joy to your heart. Then do it. And take care of each other. Take care of your neighbors. Take care of your family. Um, but yeah, that's the main message of the book. And then also
Hmm.
the tips. I put tips in there that help for me. I'm obviously not a physician. I have no medical background.
Right.
I've worked around it, but I haven't studied it. So, but these are items that worked for me. as an extrovert. My buddy John wanted me to put that in there because he's an introvert, and he's like, well, maybe they don't want to talk to people every day or be on Facebook Messenger, or, like things like
Right,
that.
right.
But I love being around people. It brings joy to me. I
Yeah.
love making people laugh. I love,
Hmm.
just the camaraderie and the stories and learning about people. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's just, I hope the tips maybe can help someone. If you do have a family member in the hospital or someone who may be getting sick with COVID, um, make sure they go to the hospital when they need to, and they don't stay home and say, I'm going to get better. It's just a cold, because it may not just be a cold.
Yeah.
I've heard stories of people who have passed, just thinking, well, I'll be fine in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And then a coworker has to kick down their door and find out
Mm.
they didn't make it.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, the book, hopefully it will help people stay off the ventilator. Hope them, it will encourage them.
Yeah.
And not just COVID patients, anyone. It's for anyone with a battle in their life,
Yeah.
that you can beat the battle. You can be the winner.
Yeah.
So
That's
I hope it
amazing.
motivates people to overcome anything, any struggle they have. And like I said, live your best life.
That's amazing. And I'm
Thank
so,
you.
so, so excited. I mean, you look great. You and Shellbell
Thank
look
you.
wonderful. There's a
Yeah.
new twinkle in your eyes, and I see it on
Thank you.
Facebook. So I'm so, so happy. And
Thank
I'm
you.
praying, I'm agreeing with you both that this book is something that takes a very real situation and pricks the hearts of people so that they turn to Christ, so that they turn their lives around, that they do what's necessary, that they may know or not know, that they do what's necessary to, like you said, live their best life, live their healthiest
Yeah.
life so that they can
Yeah.
become the best version of themselves that they can be.
Exactly.
It's
Just be
awesome.
infectious,
That's right.
help other
In a good
people.
way. Infectious in a good way.
That's right. It doesn't have to be a bad infection. It can be a good
Yes,
infection.
yes. An infection of
And
goodness.
one other thing too, it's not a big long book, so it's not gonna be like overwhelming book if you're not a reader.
Yeah.
It does have some pictures. I know a lot of people wanted pictures. My buddy wanted just purely a picture book, but I was like, I got to put some words in there for people. But yeah, it's a good 24 pages. So it's a quick read. You can knock it out in probably an hour or less.
That's awesome.
And yeah,
That's awesome. I'm so,
a little
so
book with a
glad.
big message.
There you go. I love it.
Yeah.
That's the
Thank
tagline.
you.
I love it.
Right.
Brian Greene, dude, thank you so much for joining me
Thank
on
you.
this interview. I'm so glad
Yeah.
that we got to talk about this and that I got to put it out there for people to see. And if you have not grabbed your copy yet, please, please, please. The book is called, go ahead, tell the name of the book, the website where to grab it. Smell the
I might be
roses.
backwards. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I know.
Blow
I
out
should
the
have clicked the
candles.
button that like mirrored. I'm sorry. I don't know.
It's fine. No, you're good. It's Smell the Roses, Blow Out the Candles, my COVID-19 story. You can get it on my website at www.growinggreene.com. There is an E at the end of green. It's been haunted me my whole life, but it's okay. So it sets me apart from the other greens.
It does. It does.
But yeah, if you want to read about my recovery, you don't have to buy the book. You can reach out to me via email on there. There's some buttons you can click. So if you have any questions or anything, like I said, I don't have a medical background, but I can answer any questions you have or try to help you find an answer to it. So feel free to reach
Oh,
out and enjoy the photos and the story and my recovery. And I got a shirt made that I tell you. A
no.
shirt made. Yeah.
Nice. Survivor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hashtag COVID. Yeah.
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 Hey,
Put it out there. Survivor. I'm a
that's right.
survivor.
That's it.
Something, something, something. Thank you so much, dude. I love you.
Thank
I
you,
love
dude.
Shelby.
I
I
love you
love
too.
Peppers. And we'll talk soon.
Okay, tell the family I said
I
hey.
will. I will.
All right.
Bye,
Thanks
everybody.
a
Thanks
lot.
for joining us,
Bye.
everyone.